Hello and welcome to another Charity Toolkit video by Andy Best. Pretty excited about this one. This is the brand new Gravity Forms to Donorfy integration. I'm going to demo what it can do, how it works, and how it differs from the previous versions of the integration. Okay, but the beginning is the same, so the setup is the same. The first thing you're going to need to do is go over to andybest.com/charity-toolkit and subscribe to the Gravity Forms to Donorfy integration product. Once you've done that successfully, you're going to receive your download for your plugin. So you download the plugin file and then install that plugin to WordPress. And that's it. It's going to bolt on to your Gravity Forms installation that you've already got, and you can start making use of the form mapping integrations straight away. Okay, once your plugin is installed, head over to the Gravity Forms area of WordPress. Come down to your settings area here. You'll notice now you'll have a Donorfy tab at the top of your settings. So you can visit that, and this will be where you input your Charity Toolkit ID number. That will be given to you. Save the settings once you've got that in. Okay, so we're going to create a brand new form. Brilliant. Okay, you'll recognize this as being the Gravity Forms editor. We've got a brand new form, so we need to start building it. Now, normally, you'd start chucking in all your various fields to start building out your form. You don't want to be doing that with the Gravity Forms to Donorfy integration. Instead, if you collapse all of these field groups, you'll find we have a Donorfy field group available to us now. Well, I say available, we haven't actually enabled it yet. So under the settings for the form, this is a different settings area from your core Gravity Forms settings area. This is the settings area for the form. We're going to need to set that up first. Well, the very first thing we need to do is enable the field mapping for this form. Basically, we'd like this form to be reporting to Donorfy. With this ticked, that's what's going to happen. If this wasn't ticked, this form wouldn't transmit any data over to Donorfy. So that means all of your forms in Gravity Forms aren't just auto-enrolled into the integration. You can say, by way of this checkbox, you can elect which ones you want enrolled and which you don't. We're going to need a default Donorfy campaign in here. Reason being is a bunch of stuff needs to go in and out of Donorfy. It always gets attributed to a campaign, so we need to establish a default one. Being as my form is going to be around a hike, a fictional hike for this year, that is the name of the campaign we shall be using. Oh, that, by the way, was the campaigns interface in Donorfy. I've configured this campaign. That's the title for it, and so we've got that title ready to go here. My gender list, so I'm probably going to be asking at some point some gender options, just to demonstrate how that field works. So a couple go in there. As long as they're comma separated, you can keep adding whatever you like in there. Country list, let's go with United Kingdom because that's where I am. We'll put Japan in there just for fun as well. Currency, we're happy with that. Now, which channel name does your instance of Donorfy use? This is a bit of an outliner. Some older instances of Donorfy refer to the SMS channel as text. Because I'm an OG Donorfy user, that is the case for my instance. If you're a newer user of Donorfy, SMS is the channel preference you're going to need to use for that channel. It is fundamental that you set this correctly, even if you don't intend to use either of these or the channel for this in your form, because all comms integration work for the channel preferences, communication preferences, even purposes are gonna fall over if this isn't set correctly. So a little quirk buried into the veins of Donorfy. So make sure you know what your channel type is as a label. And we're going to save those, commit them to the form, and that's the form settings really. So if I come back now to edit my form and close up all of the native fields once again, the Donorfy fields are now available to us. And as you can see, there's quite a lot. So we'll start at the top and we'll work our way through. The first thing we're going to want to do is ask a constituent for their first and last name. If I just jump onto that field, here we go. I can now ask for your name. So I want to head that label like that. As you can see, this is a Donorfy enabled field. It reminds us in the bottom corner there what type of field we're talking about, and then that's the custom label I've given it there. If I click on it, I get into the form settings, sorry, the field settings. The name field, the settings are quite simple. The label, the description, include title is one of the parameters we can configure. If we turn that on, we get the title field as part of that collection as well. And then everything after that is your standard Gravity Forms settings. The biggest difference is the admin field label. This is what was formerly in the previous versions of the integration used to leverage. It used to leverage this for mapping. It doesn't do that anymore. So you're free to still use this as you perhaps always would have done without now impeding the transmission to Donorfy. Okay, let's get back to adding some more fields. Probably going to want to know the email address of our constituent. So let's bung that in. We'll want that to be spelled correctly. Your email address. Lovely, lovely. We'll capture that. We will ask for the gender of this person. Now that's pulling through male and female options, as that's what was configured at the form settings level. I'm not going to get terribly creative with the labeling. I think I'll just, for simplicity, go with what the field type in question is. We'll take a phone number. Your phone number. It's worth saying that there's validation built into some of these fields. So for the email field, if a user tries to submit some data in here that isn't a recognized email format, it will fail validation. And phone number is only going to take numerals as well. One of the things we can do is mark fields as required, as we always can with Gravity Forms. So you must supply a phone number here. Real critical fields like email address, that is not an option you can configure. If you put an email field into this form, I think name's the same. Yes, name is the same. If you put these fields into the form, your user must supply those. Your end user must supply these bits of data because Donorfy needs these two, name and email. Those are critical for things like duplication, checking, and matching existing records and this kind of thing. And conditional logic. Every one of our fields is subjected to the same conditional logic hide and show that Gravity Forms supplies as well. Okay, we'll get an address field into here as well. You've guessed it, your address. The option we can include for here is for the house building number field. Some organizations like it, some don't. So you can include that or omit that from the field capture there. We'll go for the type, constituent type. Now this is an interesting one. I'm going to leave that on. No, I won't. I will. I'll give it a label for just a sec. This will carry a default value of individual. It's an always required field, but it's also an always hidden field. This little closed eye icon over here. So the constituent type we're passing through is individual. That is the default. Donorfy will accept that by default, charity by charity. That's always true. I might be pushing through a different context though. I might be sending specifically organizations to this form, in which case that's the constituent type that I want to push across, and it will get mapped that way via the API. Or I might let the user decide. I might let the user define what's going on, what they're going to select, in which case this now renders as a drop-down field. So again, an individual is the default first option, but I might want to add another constituent type, a third constituent type, so on and so on. So organization might be in here. I don't know, volunteer, if you've got volunteer, partition for your constituent types as well. So this could be user-led, in which case it presents as a drop-down field. I'm not going to do that in this instance. We're going to hard code that to be an individual. And suffice to say, because that's default, even if you didn't include this field type, the constituent type that submits via this form will still be an individual. So really you only want to include this if you want to deviate from that, or you want to give your end users a way to push around that or select their own. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to populate this with a few more, and I'll bring you back whenever there's an interesting field going in. Okay, now being as this is an event registration form, I'm probably going to need to capture that data into Donorfy. Donorfy doesn't have a concept of event registration out of the box anyway, so we're going to do so by way of an activity. All of my activity fields, they're all grayed out. I can't put any activity fields in because I haven't yet declared that there be an activity type. So we're going to stick an activity type field in there. It won't render to the front end user because it doesn't mean anything to the front end user. So I will just put activity type as my label. That's for my purpose. Yeah, now see, I've tried to click away from that field without defining the default value. So I've been warned now. This form will fail. The whole submission to Donorfy will fail if we don't properly calibrate everything. And this is one of the primary reasons why we've moved on from phase 2 into phase 3 of this product, because it was very easy to omit critical bits of configuration when doing this. So we're still in the settings. We still need to provide a default value for our activity type. So I'm going to hop across to Donorfy, take a look at my activity types. Well, we have one called event activity. So I'm going to stick that in there. Just make sure we've got no white space at either end. Donorfy can get a little bit funny about white spaces on the end or at the start of things. They won't map if that's the case. So it's always worthwhile if you're copying and pasting particularly, or yeah, from Donorfy or perhaps from Excel or Word or somewhere else where you might have prepped all of this, always worth checking you've got no white space before or after your text. And just quickly, while we were looking at that activity, I've gone ahead and added some different expected prescribed types for these fields, these banks of fields as well. So we're going to have to stick these in to the form to get them to map properly. So let's start that now. Code 1. Code 1 pertains to text fields. Confusingly, in the Donorfy UI, they're referred to as text fields. In the Donorfy API, they're referred to as code fields. I've come at it with code and API in mind. T-shirt size. So we'll do that verbatim. No, we can't spell T-shirt size. Yes, I realize that I haven't given it a default value. Thank you. I haven't given it a default value, but I might not need to, because for T-shirt size, it's not for me to dictate the T-shirt size of the person filling out this form. So I perhaps want to give that choice to my user. I probably want to do that by way of a drop-down selection. So we have this render mode feature, which means that we're going to capture code 1, we're going to capture a T-shirt size, but how we present that on the front end, we have 4 choices. So default value, as I say, that would not display on the front end, it would just carry through to the submission, is an invisible piece of data. Select drop down, that's going to be a drop down on the front end. Radio group, similar, but all the options laid out in a selectable radio group field set. And then text input, totally free form. Now I want to control the size of my T-shirts, so I'm going to need to prescribe them. So we're going to pick a select field there. We'll have a small, we'll have a medium, and we'll have a large. That'll do it for code 1 T-shirt size. What else am I asking? A hike length. Oh yes, hike length. That'll be a code 2 then. Which hike are you doing? Question mark. This will be a radio group. Why not? The half marathon or the full marathon. Cool. Those are my choices there. What else am I asking? Start date and end date. I couldn't really think of anything contextually relevant for date fields in this scenario, but we'll go with a start date and end date. Uh, the start date. I'm going to start. When am I starting my hike? Uh, when am I? When am I? When am I finishing my hike? The same day, but you know. Um, Reg number. What is my registration number? Where's my number field? No, number. Let's make this a little bit more explicit. Your registration number. That's not how you spell that either. Cool. We might make that required. That's quite important, isn't it? What was the other thing? Group size. Group size. How many in your group? I mean, I'm obviously getting creative with the context of these. You'll only be putting in the fields as they're needed. Early access to the marathon. Do you want a head start? Where was that? So that's a yes and no type. So this is going to render as a checkbox. Check it for yes. Don't check it for no. Pop that in there. What did I say it was earlier? Do you require early access? Question mark. Again, that doesn't make any sense for a marathon event, but a hiking event. And the other thing was free food. Do you want to book a free meal? Question mark. Cool. So that's those. We've got one other field in the activity set. No, it's not at the end. It's at the start. Activity notes. Usually, anything else you'd like us to know? Question mark. That's a free form text field, text area field. It's going to turn up in the notes area of the activity that gets pushed through to Donorfy the activity hike 2026. Okay, let's spin on. What else have we got going on after the activity bank of fields? We've got some communication fields. Let's put all these in. Post permission. So this is postal communications. Oops, can we reach you by post? Question mark. No, that's a highlight, isn't it? Let's take that. We've got a force opt-in here. If you tick the force opt-in option, that will render the field again as a hidden field that's omnipresent and will always pass through as positive. I won't include that in this case. I will ask the user, so we won't turn that on. I've just bunged the other channel types in there as well. So we've got those as yes or no opt-ins, post phone, email, and SMS. I'm going to want to tag my user here. Again, my choice on how I do that comes down to this render mode situation. We can make it a checkbox so that they are optionally opting into or out of being tagged in the way that this question presents, or it will be a default value if hidden, in which case I'll set this for myself so I know what I'm looking at. Oh yeah, again, as part of the betterment for keeping the data tight, I'm being asked or reminded here to ensure that I complete the category and tag name fields. So let's go over and see what I've got. So over in Donorfy here, I have a tag category of event participant, which sounds good to me. Yep, thank you very much. That's the category. And then the name of the tag within that category, well, I've already set myself up a hike 2026. Let's just pull that out and make sure I copy that without the white space as aforementioned and bung that into there. That's my tag set up now. That's of the hidden variety. I tell you what, I'll bung another one in there as well. I'll do that, by the way, as an illustration of the fact that I can continually add tags to this form. I can't continually add email permissions. Okay, we've got one, we asked that once, that makes sense. But we might have more than one tag that we want to add with different conditions, or different visibilities or different render modes and so on. So we can keep throwing those in. There are 10 number fields, 10 date fields, and so on for the activity. They start to grey out as I use them. So there's a limit on those. And the same logic applies to up here. I can't ask for the name more than once. I can't ask for, well, quite a lot of these really. We ask for them just for once because that's how data will map into Donorfy. Tags are a little bit different though. So I didn't configure this one. Let's see what other tags I've got that are relevant. Yeah, this will do. Touch point. So at what point did we first have this person get in touch with us? From the website, just a general kind of capacity, and then I can offset that in my reporting against anybody who might have come to us over a phone call or in person or however that means what it means to us there. Put a second tag label on there. Okay, we'll stop adding tags for now. Let's add a purpose. So this will come down to the kinds of communication this person will be subjected to based on their positive opt-ins to any one of those channels there. Now they actually work in tandem, not explicitly, but you can kind of define the relationship. And let me explain what I mean by that. So adding a purpose field to my form for my sanity, we will just label that as purpose. Actually, no, we won't, because we're going to check. So actually, we need this to be a real question. Subscribe to our newsletter ? The associated channel with this particular purpose is email. In order to subscribe to the newsletter, one must be opted into email. So if for whatever reason they didn't opt into email up here when explicitly asked the general opt-in for email, to be able to subscribe to the newsletter, we can pass that bit of data through. Otherwise we have a conflict, don't we? If someone said no, they don't want to be contacted by email, but then want to subscribe to the newsletter, we have a conflict. So in order to just ensure that does pass through at channel level as well as purpose level, we have to associate here. And the purpose name, let's go and get that from Donorfy. From my purposes list in Donorfy, I do simply have one called newsletter. So thank you very much. We'll pop that into there. The checkbox that gets presented is going to have a little label beside it. So we have the question at the top, the label beside the checkbox. I'm going to say yes. Subscribe to our newsletter. Tick yes. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, let's get into the meatier fields now. We're nearly done. We're nearly at the end here. The transaction bank of fields. We've got a couple here. One I can't use yet. That will become clear why. Item for sale. Let's throw this in. The item for sale field is actually a pair of fields. It brings in the item for sale field. It also brings in, which it's not happy about if I come away. It also brings in a Donorfy total field. And again, it's auto managed. So I'll explain what that means in a second. Let's have a look at my item for sale. Item for sale. I would like to, as part of this hike registration, I would like to sell tickets to participants. So an adult ticket is something I'd like to sell. No, sorry, that's probably best there, isn't it? The item name, and this is going to be the question. How many adult tickets would you like? ? How much are they? They are £15. What follows is a series of mappings that we need to pop into here from Donorfy. What's going to happen is the item for sale is going to come through as a transaction onto the timeline of this user. In order to process that transaction, Donorfy requires a lot of mapped data, this bank of fields right here. So you're going to need to pop over to Donorfy and return all of your preferences into here so that this maps through accordingly, like this. Ta-da! That's that bank of fields filled in. Again, it was a case of going to each one of these areas in Donorfy and teasing out the very correct mappings that I'm looking to use. I'm going to make this a required field. You know what? No, I shouldn't really, should I? In case I am a child and I don't want to buy an adult ticket. Yeah, that makes sense. But speaking of, oops, let's go back to adding fields. Let's add another item for sale. This time, we want to be calling this how many child tickets would you been a long day, would you like, question mark. We got ourselves a little clone defaults button over here now. What that allows me to do is to elect from which other product in here that we've got item for sale would we like to map the same defaults from. So if I now choose the adult ticket, it's copied all of that stuff across, so I don't have to bother sourcing all of that again. The difference is I will make that a different name, and I'll make that a touch cheaper as well. So that was easy, quicker, much quicker. Let's just ramp that up a little bit. I'd rather my adult and child tickets go together and then my Donorfy total at the end. Please pay the amount of ... I think that's how that presents. That's the Donorfy total field. So what's going to happen there? Actually, there's a little bit more before we get into that. Let's throw a donation field into here. I'm going to plonk that just ahead of my Donorfy total. The untitled field, the donation field. I'm just going to call that optional donation, as it is optional. What this is going to do is it's going to present to the end user an additional sum of money, 3 sums of money, in fact, 10, 20, 30 pounds. Oh my, for optional donation. So in addition to buying the tickets, which I have to buy, the optional donation is in here so that we can just kind of ramp up that Donorfy total field. This is why it's auto managed. It's because, yes, I know, it's auto managed because we've got some extra content, extra dynamic stuff going on in here. So just need to pump into here the defaults for the mappings this time. Now the reason why this is going to be different again, and we aren't going to clone from the item for sale, is that in all likelihood it'll be a different department engaged now. We're not selling things, this might be individual giving and so on. The product will be a donation this time as opposed to an item for sale or whatever it was I said. So the differences are going to be such here that this needs doing again. So I'll just populate this bank of fields one more time. And there we are. So as I say, some of that is the same. Some of it donation, different department this time. I can't remember what I put for fund, but yeah, whoops. You've got the means to make those unique for a donation context. But because this is the donation context, there's another checkbox setting at the end of that bank of fields. Gift aid eligible. Is this donation going to be gift aid eligible? This doesn't present anything any different to the user. It just means that when this donation comes through to Donorfy, the transaction, it will be eligible for adoption into the gift aid claim you're about to make, assuming all the other criteria in Donorfy allow that transaction through. One of those criteria is that the user has a gift aid declaration on their timeline. So this seems like a good opportunity to ensure they've got one. We stick a gift aid field into here. I'm labeling it gift aid. It's an always required field if it is present. Declaration method, again, I'm going to have to tease that out of Donorfy. Hold on a sec. Yeah, it seems I've got a declaration method of web, so I'll park that in there as well. It's a very slim field here. It does more on the front end than it does on this end. It'll make sense to push that up closer to the donation, so I'll just reorder that. Now I have a donation in a donation field in my form. Donor message is something that's become available to drop in as well. So I think I'll slip that in just after gift aid. Please tell us about your donation. I won't make that a required field. We'll leave that so that if there's more context to be gleaned, the donor will provide it, or they won't. And that brings us to the end of every field type or examples thereof into my form. So I'm going to need to save that next, and then we're going to go and test it. Okay, this is Gravity Forms preview mode. So everything in here is as you saw me construct it, but without any attention to the styling or the design or anything like that. With the way Gravity Forms works, as you hopefully know, is that it's going to adopt all of your CSS and styling, any of your theming and so on of the rest of your website when it's not in this preview mode, when the form is legitimately dropped onto one of your web pages. In this preview mode, it just sort of skips that layer to make an effective preview, which is suitable for us for this demo purpose. So I am going to fill out this form now. Adrian Testley. I always use Testley for my last names in my tests. It makes drawing those constituents out of Donorfy a lot quicker and easier. It means I don't have to remember any other nonsense I might make up for the rest of the fields. Testley is always the way to go. I'm just going to spin through these. I'll bring you back in if there's a particular interesting bit of user experience need demoing. Right, that's almost ready to go. Let's just roll back up. So Adrian Testley is coming in. There's his email. Gender, as you know, we configured that at form level, so we'll have those as selectable options on the front here. All his address stuff's going in. Date of birth, that's going to render as this little pop-out modal. So he can be born sometime when I was at primary school, I guess. He is a medium, actually. He'd like to run the full marathon. Good for him. He'd like to start that on the 23rd. If he's lucky, he'll conclude it on the 23rd as well. His registration number, that's required. That's important. We pop that in there. There's going to be 3 people in his group. So these are our 2 number fields for activity. Do you want early access to the marathon? Yeah, I mean, he's starting on the same day, finishing on the same day. So I guess just earlier than the start time. Do you want to book a free meal? He does. These are our 2 yes/no fields for the activity. This is the activity notes. I'm very fast at hiking, so cook my meal first, please. He is not going to commit to post or phone, but he's happy with email and he's happy with SMS. He will subscribe to the newsletter. He said how many people in his group? He said there's 3 people in his group, so it stands to reason he would want to buy 1 ticket for himself and 2 for his kids. As you'll see, the please pay the amount of has started to tally that up. He'll make a £10 optional donation as well, tallying that up further. He is gift aid eligible. This, as I say, there was not much going on the back end of the form for this field, but on the front end, we have some stock text. It's doing that live calculation based on the donations supplied. And then we've got a bit of business down here. It's pulling through the name of your website into this blurb here. My sites is just what I've got here going. And then the moment of truth. Let's get Adrian Testley over to Donorfy. Okay, this is my instance of Donorfy. I've performed a search for Testley, which found nobody. That was about 5 minutes ago. I've since submitted that form, as you just saw. Let's search again. And here he is. Let's see what Testley, Mr. Adrian, has been up to. He's been up to a whole bunch of stuff over in Worthing. He gave us his police phone number. Presumably he's an officer of the law. Then he has opted into these channels. He has not opted into those channels. He did opt into the newsletters, so we'll have some of that, please. And he got tagged as the touch point of the website. Let's take a look at his timeline as well. Here's his event activity. Event activity. It has captured the date that this took place. Whoops, I don't want to change it. That was the type, of course, the campaign, We know that he's very fast and requires his meal being cooked. We also, for our benefit, we get the domain, the address against which this form source occurred. So if we do need to track that back to the page that this originated from, we have that there. We know what his t-shirt size is going to be, what he's running, how many is in his registration number. Obviously, Donorfy is going to format that as a number, so it's looking a bit like that. And there's equally the group size. He'd like both of these things too. Thanks very much. We've got 3 transactions coming through onto here. That is because one was for 2 child tickets, one was for 1 adult ticket, and one was for the optional donation. So we can now reconcile all of that very quickly in our reporting. How many adult tickets have we got? How many children tickets have we got? And how many donations, as we normally would. Of course, the gift aid declaration was opted into as well, so that's there. And this is the entry in full. All the data that we just passed over to Donorfy, obviously it starts here in Gravity Forms, and so it's logged here. The reason why that's of interest, though, is that if for some reason you didn't get a record of that turning up in Donorfy, we have this handy button over here, resend to Donorfy. That's just going to force through all of this data one more time to make sure it definitely gets over there. Okay, just quickly back to the form. If you were to put in any of the native Gravity Forms fields into your form, you can. This could be single line text, so car registration number. I don't think I even got that right. It doesn't matter. You can offer this in. This will go into the form. Gravity Forms will capture it, but obviously Donorfy won't. So you don't have to just use Donorfy centric fields in this form if the ultimate aim is to push this through to Donorfy. It just simply won't do anything with the fields of data. It ignores these entirely. So you may only want to put 1 or 2 fields into Donorfy from your form and omit everything else. And the second thing I just wanted to bring up is that in that demonstration, I obviously put some transactions across to Donorfy without paying for them. The reason why we did that was for brevity, but I'll quickly show you that what's needed to actually authenticate the payment. The integration, the Donorfy integration, works with Stripe. As you'll know, Stripe is a favorite of Donorfy. You'll need to slip this Stripe block in. So you'll need to ensure that you've obviously got the Stripe pricing fields components installed into your Gravity Form instance to actually take payment. When this block is in, it wants you to set up a feed, but it's going to fail if you don't save the form first. This has nothing to do with me and my integration, by the way, so there's a quirk here. You've got to save this form first so that it's got the Stripe context in it, because when you click this, we move away to creating a Stripe feed. So let's create one. 3, select the transaction type, products and services. We're not going to be setting up subscriptions. It's going to be a product and service. And what that's going to do is bring up this interface here. It wants you to configure a whole bunch of fields so that they will map accordingly to Stripe. We've got a hookup Donorfy fields button in here, which is very cool. We click this, and now it already knows that the address field for line 1 is the your address field, the your address field line 2, the town, the county, so on and so on. We want to choose Donorfy total for our, I don't know why there's 2 of those in there. I'll investigate that. I think what's happened there is because we've got both a donation field and an item for sale field, the Donorfy total field has been registered twice, but it is in fact only the one field. So I don't think it matters which one of these you choose, but yes, the Donorfy total is the one we need setting here for the payment amount, the final amount going through. And as I say, the rest has been hooked up, those address fields, the email, the first name. I think that's all of it. The rest is then configurable here. Save those settings, and the difference that'll make now when we reload that form is the Stripe standard block of stuff down at the bottom here. So now if none of this is provided and you submit, the form won't push through. This is basically the payment barrier to ensure that everything configured up here and in the total will now also pass through to Stripe's endpoint for payment. Okay, that is the Gravity Forms, the Donorfy version 3 integration. That's available now. If you're using Gravity Forms and you want to push your data automatically through to Donorfy, please head over to the website. The link is in the description below. Get yourself signed up and get that plugin downloaded. Thanks for watching.